This is all a part of the Downtown Memphis Commission's gracious effort to digitize me. I used to say I was going to be a Holocaust, and they corrected me. I'm going to be a hologram. I get my words. I'm not that bad, but so I'm very fortunate to have them do that, just like the Pink Palace did the 12 lectures. If you just Google, in about 5 years, it'll be Go Ogle. I will have sued them and got all my billions of dollars. And if you come on my tours, I'll give you $1 million bill if you say you're on a Jimmy Ogle walking tour. If I'm Go Ogle for Google. And manipulating the elections too, you know. But it's Jimmy Ogle Pink Palace. Take the lens cover off, man. Come on. It's not working. Usually I say that people actually look, but you really had it on. You got your lens cover off, right? Okay. Now, Ron.
Why don't you call your site Jugo?
Well, Go Ogle is, you know. Now this is Sammy, and he's going to interrupt me a lot, and I'm going to hit him in a minute. You know. But Sammy is a valued person on this tour today because he's like the president, or I don't know what the exact title is, but he coordinates the Edge Association activities. King. He wants to be king. Everybody wants to be king this week. You know, we've had 3 kings of Memphis, right? Elvis the King gave us our voice, B.B. King gave us our soul, and Dr. Martin Luther King gave us our conscience. That's what we say about our 3 kings of Memphis, and we're the only city in America to have a street with an intersection of King and King. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and B.B. King Boulevard. You see, right down there by the FedEx Forum. Nobody can say that. And I said 3 kings. There's actually a 4th king, Jerry the King Lawler, you know, and King Cotton. And King Sammy, so 6 kings of Memphis now. But when you think what's happening so fast now in this edge area, it's just like when I moved into South Main in 1986. It's the new boom era of Memphis.
Yeah.
It took 25 years to snap, crackle, pop before it boomed. You know, it's boomed. You can't build apartments fast enough. Back in the 1990s and 2000, when it was only kudzus down here in Club 616, and I never went to Club 616. But I went to kudzus a lot. There wasn't much going on. It's in a real transition. So what you see now, what we'll see during this tour will be a phenomenal step in the last 5 years. And thankful to people like him and business people like Fun, right?
Yeah,
Fun. I haven't figured that out yet, but we're going to do that. So there might be a couple of Edge District business people or residents on this tour. Like you've seen me, like when we got to the Visible Music School today, how lucky we were. A guy that worked there for 20 years opened the door and got to talk about 10 minutes about what the whole guts of the Visible School was and what they were doing. So I'm not going to be shy. It's just when the people are talking, this is our only microphone. So I'll be standing real close to them like this so they can hear it. We got to get away from this thing here too. So
these things you're filming, where will they end up?
well, we'll figure that out next week. We'll be meeting with, you might know already. Now, Robert is here with the Downtown Memphis Commission, Blue Suede Brigade. He'll be doing the tours in the future. And he's got all my notebooks and everything. But it'll be through the Downtown Memphis Commission website to start out with. Now, what Pink Palace did, you can get my 12 Pink Palace lectures if you Google Jimmy Ogle Pink Palace. It's not Jimmy Ogle at pinkpalace.com. It's those Google those 4 words. It'll come Making Memphis Storytelling. All 12 lectures will come up in a YouTube type thing, 45 minutes at a time, all 12 different subjects. It'll probably be something like that. We just haven't figured that out yet. I'd say by the middle of September or October. And then they're on there forever. And it's our 1890, somebody took a picture of the riverfront. We use it. 1910, 1920, 1940. Well, this is our digitization now in 2019, our bicentennial gift to Memphis. Freeze in Memphis in 2019. Come back in 30 years, people don't want to see this stuff and see where we got to, just like where we're coming from now. When this was Automobile Row, 80 years ago. So, everybody set, ready to go? Okay, we're going to walk down Marshall and turn and go down Monroe, probably to about AutoZone Park. That's going to take about an hour, I think. We're going to stop in Edge Motor Museum. And what's his name? Richard?
Richard.
Richard's going to come out and talk and just kind of show you. How many been in Edge Motor Museum yet? I walked in there Tuesday, and the floor is so clean and so white. I thought it was ice. I thought I was going to slip and fall. It was so slick. And I walk up and say hi, and I just got through doing a historical marker, digging a hole, and I was all sweaty in blue jeans and really looked bad, better than now. And hey, I'm Jimmy Ogle, and I'm going to give a walking tour. Oh, I know you. I graduated from MUS. When? 2018. I graduated in 1970. How'd you know me? I'd spoken at the school, but the kid was really eager, and there's a whole nother story of that. And there's another, I walked in today, and there's another guy with hair like out to here. I said, are you Richard? He said, no, but you're Jimmy Ogle. I went, why? Oh, I just graduated from MUA. I said, okay. That's where I went to high school. But, so it's fun to have that. The first thing we're going to do is go on this side of the street so we can get a perspective back at Sun, away from some of this traffic noise, and tell about a Cliff Notes version of Sun Studio. You could talk for hours about Sun Studio. So let's jaywalk here and go right to that domino sign. Gather up so we can hear.
Come on closer.
Because can y'all hear okay? I'll try to project as well. I'll do this every once in a while. I got permission to stand in planters as long as I don't step on a flower too. There's a picture of me in a newspaper one time talking, and I got like 3 or 4, you're messing up the flowers at Downtown Memphis Commission. Well, you weren't on the tour, and Paul Morris said I could do that if I long as I don't stand on the flowers. So seriously, I just took a picture right over there. Go stand over there, Robert, real quick. And look right down there in the sidewalk. You'll see some letters right there. It says Ben M. Hogan, I think is what it says, 1938. Now, I'm very famous for manhole covers, right? Well, another thing got me into downtown things looking around was sidewalk stamps is what I call them. You know, you've seen this on sidewalks laid by A&W Construction, 1952. So everywhere I go now, I see a sidewalk stamp. There's like, I probably got 200 of those from all over the sidewalks in Memphis. Right here, right over there by Sun Studio, and right here, Ben Hogan Concrete Company laid the concrete here in 1938. This is your oldest sidewalk stamp in Memphis. Get your camera over there and take a picture of it. Oh, there's one over there. There's 2 of them in existence so far. One over there by Sun right there.
There are a couple down.
Ben Hogan, you already seen. All right, we got 4 now. See, we got people looking for sidewalk stamps. That's how you look at downtown Memphis. Once this stupid motorcycle gets out of here. Come on. So, 706 Union Avenue, back in 1950, Sam Phillips began Memphis Recording Service. Sam was recording black artists at the time. Sam had been working at the Peabody Hotel in the Skyway Room. The big band there in 1940s, the Skyway Room was built in 1939. The Peabody opened in 1925. So it's 14 years later. They were figuring out, hey, we're losing half a season of revenue because in the wintertime they couldn't do anything on the roof. You know, the big bands and everything. Run the red light.
Well, that's the longest light I know it.
Yeah. Well, the Edge needs to do something about that. So, Sam was the producer for the big bands, one of 3 radio stations, 3 rooms in the country broadcasting over CBS National Radio Network. New York, Memphis, Los Angeles, the big band swing music. Now, if another motorcycle comes up right now, I'm going to knock him off. Y'all got to back me now. You got to be right behind me. Get that dog in. But anyway, and so he had a comment to us. Here's those same guys playing those same song lyrics, changing the same sheets for 10 years. Those guys didn't even know they're that boring, is what he said. So he always go down to Beale Street, just like Elvis. He was drawn to that raw, gutsy sound of Beale Street in the clubs, in the parks, on the streets, and. So he was wanting to record the black artists. So he came over here to 706 Union Avenue. He was recording black artists like B.B. King, Howlin' Wolf, Johnny Ace, Rufus Thomas, Roscoe Gordon. And what he had to do, which was very interesting, again, we're in the segregated Memphis at the time, you know, and up until the 1960s, it was still really tough in the public areas here. Blacks couldn't go to Main Street, couldn't come out. This was Automobile Road. And what Sam says, a bunch of white rednecks out here, you know, just like Ernest Withers would say that too, in a beloving, identifying way. I'm probably a white redneck too, in some ways, but Automobile Row and mechanics and repair shops and all this stuff. And so here Sam's bringing a bunch of black folks over here at sundown and overnight. And what do you think? He didn't want any trouble out of these folks, so he went around building the building. Oh no, look, I'm going to take care of it. They're not going to bother you. You don't bother us. So he really paved the way for these artists to come over here to do this at 706 Union Avenue. You really got to say he was a great civil rights person for that. And then what Rufus Thomas told me, Rufus Thomas had recorded a song called Bearcat. It was a first #1 hit out of Sun Studio, but it was a response song to Big Mama Thornton's Hound Dog that Elvis later recorded. So Sam got sued. It sounded too much like it, you know? So Sam got sued, and that's one reason why he had to sell Elvis for $30,000, which Kimmons Wilson advised him, oh, he ain't going nowhere, just go ahead and sell his contract, you know. That's a funny story about him and Kimmons. And it was him and Kimmons started Holiday Inns, you know. It was he and Kimmons that started the first all-female radio station, which we dedicated a marker to yesterday, WHER in 1955 at a Holiday Inn. So Rufus told me at the Rock and Soul Museum, Sam was looking for a white boy who could sing black music. Elvis been walking up down Beale Street, drawn to that raw, gutsy sound. He'd gone to East Trigg Baptist Church, sang it Sunday nights. Camp meeting over the air over WHBQ radio with the black kids down there in the Soulsville neighborhood. So, and he heard Arthur Crudup sitting on a pickle bucket in Handy Park singing That's All Right, Pretty Mama, just an old blues song, just like Hound Dog's an old blues song. Came over here. Now, Marion Keisker, who's on the marker as well, worked for Sam. She kind of held Elvis around a year or two because she really liked his looks and his voice, knew he really had something there. They just couldn't figure out what. And so Sam kind of liked it. He paired him up with Scotty Moore, whose guitar that is right there. That's Scotty Moore's Gibson guitar on the building right there. And Bill Black, the bass player, who lived in Lauderdale Courts too, where Elvis lived. And one night, July 5th, 1954, they're in the studio, 706. The other part where you go into the gift shop was Miss Taylor's restaurant. So that was kind of Sam's office over there for the recording studio. Have y'all taken the whole tour and gone through all that? It's just amazing. And so they come into the studio, they're trying to record a song. Nothing was going right. July 5th, 1954, they took a break. Elvis went over in the corner, picked up Scotty Moore's guitar, and out of a fit of nervous energy, he started banging out That's All Right, Mama, really fast in the corner. Sam comes running out of the control room saying, that's it, that's the sound we're looking for. And Sam on the Memphis Rock and Soul video says, it's like I got stuck in the rear end with a brand new super sharp pitchfork. Pow. That sound just found them. So they recorded that song. That's the hop on, hop off. That's the free shuttle we started in 2000 that goes between Graceland, Rock and Soul, and Sun Studio. Free shuttle. That's a cool deal. So they took it and made an acetate, which is kind of a cheap version that if the record's no good and you just throw it away and you don't have any money until you hadn't cut a whole record. Now, at the same time, out on Chelsea Avenue, the Quonset huts out there, 1746. Robert Williams was, some of y'all are millennials on this tour, aren't you? Right? Look at, raise that hand. Well, but we used to have these things that have these holes in them like this, I say, and they're this big. We called them 45s. Y'all know what a 45, I'm just teasing. He was making 50,000 of those a week out there. Plastic Products Record Plant. Memphis, right down here, Poplar Tunes, music sales had 18,000 jukeboxes in 10 states, and that's where they distribute all that Memphis music through. That's how Memphis, so they didn't want to invest in doing some 45s. They just took the acetate down to Dewey Phillips. Hotel Chiska, WHBQ, was on the mezzanine level there, okay? Red, Hot, and Blue was the music program from 1949 to 1958. Dewey was playing music by white artists and music by black artists on the same radio station, in the same hour, in the South. It was unheard of at the time. It was the music the kids loved and the parents hated, and that's always generational. My mother did not like the Beatles and the British invasion in the 60s and all that. That's always generational. Dewey played that song 15 times that night because kids kept on calling, or more. That's the first time an Elvis record ever played over the radios from the mezzanine of the Chiska. We're going to put a historical marker over there next year, we think. Where he is, we think. Talking about that. And that's where rock and roll actually began. And that was in 1954. And think by 23 years later, Elvis was dead, but made a worldwide impact. So there you have, Memphis is the only city in America to have 2 Tony Award winning musicals about its music history. Memphis, the musical about Dewey's life. Did y'all see that at the Orpheum? And the $1 Million Quartet. So you come back over here, you got Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins coming in here. In September 9th, I believe is 56. No, December 4th, 55. They're in here. Carl Perkins, I believe, is in here with Jerry Lee, and then Johnny Cash shows up. Then Elvis shows up on a lark, and they're playing. And that's how they get the $1 Million Quartet picture. Okay, September 9th, 1956. Elvis plays on Ed Sullivan for the first time from the waist up, and the rest is history. You know, Sam lasted till about the 1960s, and he went across. He sold the studio. Went over to Madison Avenue. Sam Phillips Recording is still over there. When we walk down to AutoZone Park, some of us got to walk back because our cars are here. We might just walk up Madison Avenue and come back over here and talk about some of the things on that side of the edge, if you got time. So, Knox Phillips, Jerry Phillips are around. Sam, just incredible. I got to 2003 1985 or 87, I think it was, Gary Hardy came back in and opened up Sun Studios, a tourist attraction. Gary Hardy plays at Alfred's with Johnny Cash, or Gary Hardy in Tennessee too. Kind of sounds like Johnny Cash. Great guy. On his own, young, didn't have any money, but he wanted to bring, and he brought that back. And then the Shore family bought it. And now people from all over the world, this is the birthplace of rock and roll right here, you know. 2003, went on the National Register of Historic Places, and they had a reception here. I came to the reception, and Sam Phillips came. And how would you like to be the college-age kid, not me, giving the tour of Sun Studio with Sam Phillips on your tour? Now, in 2000, I was at the Rock and Soul Museum. Sam Phillips came walking in the first week and said, "Sonny boy, show me your museum." I was scared to death. Well, I said the Smithsonian wrote the story about all roads lead to Memphis. Wonders installed it. We just run it. I'll show you the guitars and the pictures and the equipment and the costumes. You tell me what it means to you. And I got 2 hours with Sam, 101, because I knew he would talk. And that's the greatest learning experience I ever had. And that's how I did it with all those folks. Let me get the VIP tour for Ernest Withers and Rufus Thomas and Jerry Lee Lewis and Wink Martindale and Ben Colley, who survived the Otis Redding plane crash, and George Klein. I got all this 101. I just shut my mouth, believe it or not, and opened my ears. Well, I stood there by Sam on that whole tour. Y'all been on that tour. We get down, he hadn't said nothing. I was going to kind of listen to everything he said. Guy was doing a great tour. We get down there where they do the Folsom Prison Blues, right? Down, 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 down. Boom, chugga, boom, chugga, boom. That's not percussion. That's a guitar in the fretboard. Now, Fluky Holland, who's still alive, who was Johnny Cash's drummer, brought Carl Perkins and Johnny Cash's drummer, but he brought Carl Perkins here for his Blue Suede Shoes interview and he was the first drummer to put a set of drums on the stage at Ryman Auditorium because Roy Acuff didn't allow percussion in country music during that time. So his drumsticks are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Country Music Hall of Fame. Fluky Holland, he's still alive. So that is not drums on that sound. There's a dollar bill in the fretboard. So the demonstration here, they put the dollar bill in, they play that sound, clackety, clackety, clack, whatever, play the music, and they play it together. Sam Phillips goes, "Wait a minute, sonny boy. That dollar bill was right here." And he moved the dollar bill to the exact spot on the fretboard. I'm getting my goosebumps right now. Everybody just Sam spoke. You know, fine, Sam can talk. And then he said, "That was cool. Don't you think that's cool?" And then he went to the $1 Million Quartet store and he said, "Wait a minute. That picture was taken right here." And he showed us the exact spot in the room that picture was taken. That room, you know, the X is still on the floor and all that stuff. That's only 2 times he spoke that day. And those are my takeaways. Great tourist attraction here. People from all over the world. And you just see all the people coming. It's just dynamite. Now, let's talk about other things. So we're going to go down Marshall Street. No, you got to come down here now because the microphone's here.
Okay.
He's going to talk real loud too. I'm too lazy to find out the origin of the name Marshall for Marshall Street, okay? Robert did it. Tell us.
Yeah, so Marshall Street was originally named Pigeon Roost Road.
All the way from Mississippi up to
all
here.
the way from Mississippi, ending where Adams met the Gayoso Bayou. They changed the name in 1872 to name it after John H. Bowen, B-O-W-E-N. Now, you might wonder, how did you get Bowen, or how did you get Marshall from Bowen? So, Mr. Bowen was a U.S. representative from the state of Tennessee, and he did not want roads named after him. His family didn't want roads named after them. So, how do you name a road after somebody who doesn't want a road named after him? They named it after Marshall City, Mississippi, where Mr. Bowen was from. So, that's how Pigeon Roost Road became Marshall, named after Mr. Bowen.
Now, Pigeon Roost Road became Lamar. And then, you know, Lamar, but you see it turns and goes to Crump, Lamar, and it kind of followed the that railroad track, you know, that we're going to talk about later on down here. Everybody likes that railroad track in East Memphis. We'll talk about it. But Lamar came from QTC Lamar, who was a senator in Mississippi, and they got his name put on that. He might have been a Supreme Court justice too. So a lot of influence coming out of Mississippi because all roads led to Memphis. It was the everything capital for 150 miles. So there's your Lamar thing. Let's walk down here. Our next stop will be about a half a block away, and we'll let FF Fun talk for a second here about what's happening in FF Fun, okay? Then we'll talk about Automobile Road. in the 19 teens, 20s, 30s, this was Automobile Road between Union, Monroe, and Madison. And look at all these names here. And then we moved in the 1940s and 50s. It went out to Summer Avenue and 60s. You can tell that part of Summer Avenue from, say, Parkway to Highland almost. Mostly deserted. I bought my first car in 1968 at Pryor Oldsmobile out there. Then it went over to Covenant. I went over to Mount Moriah area as the city grew that way in the 70s, 80s, and then out to Covenant Pike and Wolfshay. So Automobile Road has moved out where the people are. But in this area, you had the Packard dealer. On Madison, you had a Packard dealer, 3 Ford dealers, Graham Marion, Arthur Doyle, and Chambers, who later was the Hartwell Motor Company. That's on Madison. Monroe, Briscoe, these are car names that I've never heard. I've heard of Chevrolet, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Cadillac, stuff like that, Rolls. You ever heard of a Briscoe? Or a Hupmobile, H-U-P, Hupmobile? You say yes to Hupmobile? Okay, okay. Oldsmobile, Cadillac, Lexington. You ever heard of the Lexington car? Okay. The Chandler, Conable Motor Company, and then the REO Speedwagon. Everybody knows the band, but not, it was Ransom Edward Olds is what that means in your crossword puzzles, you know. Pierce, Arrow, Peerless, Rock and Lang Autos, Federal Trucks. That was where the Greyhound bus station was. There was a carriage company there making carriages. Then they converted to automobiles. They saw it coming, you know. And then the Dodge Schlitz dealership in Union and Pauline. So there was at least 14 to 20 automobile dealers, usually in a building like this with maybe 1 or 2 cars. That's why, where'd he go? Okay. Usually we've got the big display windows inside like this. That's why you see a lot of big display windows in the buildings, all up and down here. And then the repair shops like Walker Radiator Works. That used to, does that light up anymore?
Yeah,
at night?
yes.
Oh, okay, because it doesn't have the little drip, the drip will drip, you know, your radiator is dripping. It used to be one right over here, the very end building where the awnings are. That was weekly equipment repair. Mr. Weekly, I knew in the 80s, he was a SEC football referee, but he repaired lawnmowers and things like that. So he had a lawnmower up there. There might be a logo in the sidewalk down here about him, but he had a really nice neon sign. So the neon signs are all in here and really cool. And so you'll see, I think the Edge District likes to take on that auto roll mystique just as much as the music thing right here, I believe. Kind of an unusual configuration here with Monroe coming up and then crossing over to Madison. And then Marshall comes up like a big X right here, you know, to Union, and it's a little bit tricky all in here. And they've done some things we'll see right up here to soften up all that traffic and streetscape and bike lanes and parking and things like that. That's pretty cool artwork. You'll see some murals on the wall. There's a mural back here. I don't know the names and meanings of all the murals, but where there are spaces in the last 10 years, there have been a lot of nice murals put up. Some have been here 20, 30 years. There's a few little things happen in the 1990s and 2000s and 2010s, but the last 5 years, it's hit the momentum. And of course, the last 2 or 3 years when we get down by the Wonder Bread Factory, is he still around? Where'd he go?
Who?
This guy.
He
walked around.
What type of business does he have here?
It's a medical device company.
medical.
Oh, which is really cool, because right over here you got a Penske dealership that also sells medical books.
Yeah.
That's a good combination. I've rented trucks from David over there. Anybody ever thought I grow up, I'm going to run a Penske truck dealership, rental dealership, and sell medical books too?
He was raised like that.
Great guy.
Hey, by the way, just
Yo, Chris,
hey, just
get on camera.
A little bit, you know, the crisscross of the roads before the dealership.
Why don't we talk about it up there
I might
at the
not
crisscross?
believe
Oh, well, you make it that far. All right, just Chris, what do you do here? You're talking to my microphone here.
Medical device business. Yeah, so implants. Yeah.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Well, we used to have cars
You
here.
have cars here.
Yeah, except I rented the building. I don't have cars in it anymore. Another guy's
You don't do
cars in it.
drugs,
He does, of course,
prostitutes,
man.
anything, just medical devices, right?
Upstairs.
Okay. How long have you been here?
2012.
Why here? Because of medical center, or just you
I
like
bought
to
this to be my house originally.
think about this?
I was gonna live here and I wanted the garages.
Okay. So you like cars more than you like house, right?
I like cars more and I like
Now
selling
he's
medical
moved.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so Liberto used to be a name of a car dealership.
Right
too.
here on Danny Thomas, but no family. Not that I
Not
know.
with you. Okay, I remember
yeah.
Liberto.
Yeah. Frank or
Okay.
Sam Liberto.
Well, we're gonna get in the city directories later on and find out your addresses through here.
I'd
and
love
tell
to.
you, yeah, it's easy to do. We'll show you how to do it too. So.
Hey, the one that really confuses me is the K2 building around the corner.
What? All right, K2.
Yeah, 668 Union.
That's where the restaurant's coming?
Yes, where the restaurant's coming. Yeah.
So what else is coming around this area here? Got a restaurant,
Yeah,
668.
there's a restaurant. It's Chef Tam's from...
Yeah, it's in Cooper Young Underground
They're
Cafe.
coming down here.
Yeah, it's tough to get the history because the addresses are all
All off, yeah.
all off. Yeah.
Off.
Yeah, they keep changing. You know, to different things. It's not the same ones that were, 100 years ago.
Not 100 years ago. After 1905, they should be the same.
We changed ours.
Why?
We didn't like
Okay, why?
We'll ask the architect.
See it in the truck.
Why?
The statement that we changed our address. He said that sometimes changing the addresses affects the history.
Well,
We
no, it
changed
doesn't.
our
It affects the
address,
identification.
and
Yeah,
why?
I think it was 6, 7. It was 3 addresses.
3 addresses.
So you just consolidated one, okay? Because there's 3 different businesses in a wide building.
Businesses, and then
Yeah.
there's apartments in the back. So
Okay.
it started getting
Yeah.
really confusing.
You know, usually, like when I was at the Memphis Rock and Soul Museum, it's usually when you're building a new building, MLG&W comes in there and sets a power meter at an address on the street. And for the Gibson building, it was 145 Lieutenant George W. Lee Avenue. Be on the phone from somebody from New York, tell them where you are. Well, 1 block south of Beale Street. No, where? Lieutenant, 145 Lieutenant George W. Lee Avenue. How do you spell Lieutenant? LT. You know, so sometimes your addresses are set by MLG&W in original construction. Now you go back, so one of the difficulties is here, the city started from the pyramid, grew south along the riverfront with transportation. By 1905, we had annexed 3 different cities, had duplicate names, duplicate numbers, so they brought the 0 mile marker right there at Madison in front. If you go right there at Madison in front of the law school, there's a marker this high in the sidewalk, right before the Korean and World War II memorial, a little white marker, the granite marker there, the 0 milestone. Every direction from Memphis is measured from there. That's the 0. So if you're coming from Nashville and you're at Sycamore View and it's 12 miles to Memphis, but you're here, it comes to that spot in each direction so you don't lose any mileage in between. And most cities had the center spot. So that became our north-south line in 1905. So we had to reset a lot of numbers. So if your building's before 1905 in the books, you'll have to count down between the intersections on the city directories to get to your book to a different number because they all changed. So a lot of people didn't want to do that. And so the only way they got them to cooperate, they didn't want to change their stationery, the business cards. It costs money to do that and confuse people. So the post office could not knowingly deliver mail to a wrong address. They stopped delivering mail to people until they changed their address to fit in with the new numbering system, you know. So when you read Paul Kopnick's books, he'll be talking about areas like this, and he'll say old numbering system. So there was a very concerted effort in 1905 to do a cleanup because the city had just in 1899 expanded all the way out to past where Overton Park is now. So they really picked up some other cities and duplicate names. And I think they did it once again in the 1940s too and did another expansion because you got Winchester down here and you got Winchester down about airport, you know, and things like that to confuse people. But so numbering, like I say, modern days now taking 3 buildings or bays, making them 1, that makes sense. Good sense, doesn't it? You're the architect? You had fun doing this, didn't you? Some of these look like backsides of buildings because this is an old alley through here. This is a front side. Obviously, there's a new treatment on this building. It looks like wood to me over there from here.
It's wood.
So y'all stand real close. Now, how did you renovate that building, or how did you? I mean, obviously you wanted the big windows. You want people to see what your business are. What's happening in there to begin with?
It was a paint warehouse for cars.
For cars, that makes sense.
Yes.
Auto row, okay.
Yes.
And you've turned it into
3 commercial bays and 5 studio apartments.
there's apartments in the back.
Apartments in the back, architecture, advertising,
Speak up, we can't hear you.
a dress shop,
Let's talk about
souvenir shop, and we know it was car paint because it's extremely difficult to get off the floor.
Okay.
So we've been grinding it down, but we kept the concrete floors original. Looks really nice.
All right, we recently just came down Madison Avenue, and there's the Hugh Hotel, H-U period,
Yep.
for Hugh L. Brinkley. That's a grandson of our founder of our city who helped finish building the railroad to Arkansas and stuff. Why F period, F period, U period, N period, F, F, U, N? What
It
is
was
that?
Someone had rented the building before we purchased it, and they just had an organization in there, and that was the initials for their organization.
Freedom from unnecessary negatives. So it's a
Freedom
nonprofit.
from unnecessary negative. That's on the quiz at the end of the tour, folks.
I think they're still operating too.
Where? Not around Memphis, are they?
around
No,
here.
no. We got to take that whole attitude. That's a great attitude.
Yeah.
And it looks like a really nice building too. Are you proud of it?
Yeah.
What's your next building you're going to do?
Hopefully some more in the district.
Okay, line up, folks.
There's more to do.
Thank y'all. Any way to get a hold of you? You got a telephone number?
I do.
Well, we'll tell them. What about these cars in here? We don't usually.
You want to see them?
Yeah, I know you want to see this for a second because we're going to go in the Edge Museum. Hugh?
Hey, Hugh Jameson.
Come on, Hugh.
Gasoline Alley.
Gasoline Alley. Come on
Gasoline
in.
Alley. So if you want to walk, just walk
Woo, baby.
Little this, little that, and it's hot in here.
Oh, it's not. Where's Ron? Come on in, Ron. You doing good? Yep. All right.
It says 20 minutes left on my battery. We'll see.
All right, we'll stop. We'll do it when we get to the edge. We'll stop and redo it there. Gasoline Alley. Get that sign. We got about 2 minutes. Let's come here real quick. Let's introduce Hugh, right?
Hugh Jameson.
H-U-G-H?
H-U-G-H.
Because there's a Hugh Hotel down here. It's not named for you, is it? No, it's not. But somehow he started collecting automobiles or trucks, right?
Yes, sir.
Of all kinds, and you restore them,
I do.
and you have tours in here, or rent them out, or ride them in parades, or show off driving.
All the above. We've done 4th of July. We had a couple cars down here at their car show this morning. The Edge has a car show from 8 to 12, second Saturday of the month. But we brought the little Bronco down there and the Hot Rod Oldsmobile.
What's the oldest car?
The 54 Hudson. It is the full race car. It was raced and campaigned through Texas up into the 1970s. It was in the Don Garland's museum until
Big Daddy Don Garland?
Big Daddy Don
Used to race out of Lakeland Dragway, remember
Yes,
that?
sir. It was in his museum up until about 11 years ago, and I bought it about 6 months ago. And I was real proud to have it here.
You stole this Corvette from Iowa, it looks like.
That is a stolen Corvette from Iowa behind me.
Island license plate. That's a good looking.
7 GTO.
Do you do the interiors? Do you paint, or you just pay somebody to do all that? And you like to drive them?
I like to drive them. I like to buy them as nice as I can. It's hard to get a lot of parts for a lot of these vehicles. Most of them are original. That 67 GTO is all original. It needs a little body work. The 64 is a parade car, Cadillac convertible.
Yeah.
It's a Shriner's car.
There's little rails on it too, huh?
And that's part of a still collection. My father collected over
Stills.
He's got about 100 moonshine stills. So we got a little bit of this and that and the other here.
So he's having a special sale today. Flip a coin. You get a car. $500. $500. Look around. Hey, let's get walking on down. You might be back here in a half hour.
Great.
When we come back to your cars, come on in, look around, talk to Hugh. Everybody say thank you to Hugh. Let's get walking. Bedford Alley. That's now. You'll never see another street sign like this. There are always 2 on there, not 3. You see, you usually got Marshall Reese. Now somebody from the Edge District somewhere put that other sign on top up there. I don't think the city of Memphis did that. Now, officially what Bedford Alley would stand for, back in 1864, Union occupation of Memphis, the Union Army had gone down to Oxford to try to capture Oxford. Nathan Bedford Forrest sneaks into Memphis, sends a telegraph to Oxford. Forrest captures Memphis, then he cuts the telegraph lines. So they get that noise, they got to come back to save Memphis. They think it really happened. They couldn't communicate with anybody. Forrest's mission was to kidnap the 3 generals, Washburn, Hulbert, and I think it was Blackburn. Sherman was not here at the time. To release like 600 horses and release like 600 Confederate prisoners of war. There were more horses and mules in service during the Civil War than men. That's how important horses were. Forrest had 29 horses shot out from underneath him. Think about how important a horse was. So that was a big deal. Well, they got in there, and you hear the story about Forrest riding his horse through the gale, so that his brother did that. But Forrest came down here right to AutoZone Park. That's where General Washburn was, and he had heard it. He jumped out of his bedroom window and ran up the alley past the rendezvous. It wasn't there at the time, but that's the escape. General Washburn's escape alley. And every sign's almost missing now. We're going to get that fixed. All the way to Front Street to where Fort Pickering was, the Union fort to safety. So Forrest never kidnapped the 3 generals. Didn't release the prisoners, came back on out, just slowed down the rate on Oxford, I guess you would say. But as it happened, Washburn had replaced Hulbert because Hulbert couldn't keep Forrest out of West Tennessee. Well, Washburn couldn't keep him out of his own bedroom, you know, and because he had kidnapped Washburn's blue uniform. The wife was still in there, and she was kind of mad at her husband who jumped out the window and ran off and left her in there, and there's Forrest. So they kidnapped the blue uniform, and they took it back, and they cleaned it up and pressed it and presented it back to General Washburn. They sent a little guy the next day like, nanny, nanny, nanny. I know Forrest didn't go nanny, 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 but it's kind of like nanny, 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 intimidation. Well, not to be intimidated, Washburn Everybody knew everybody. Again, it was a town of open commerce. First Tennessee Bank opened here during the war. No buildings burned. We were the most important. We were a sanctuary city. We had doubled our population of the freed slaves and everything. It was just a blow and go in town under strict martial union law, but things could happen. Everybody knew everybody, so the tailor knew Forrest's dimensions, so he made a gray uniform, and Washburn sent a guy back at you type of thing. That's the chivalry of war, I guess, or something like that. But the joke was ultimately on Washburn. Washburn, Cadwallader C. Washburn, later became he sat on the tribunal for the Sultana disaster. 1,700 people lost their life, but his findings were the boat was not overloaded, it was overcrowded. Good governmental findings, right? Largest maritime disaster in history. A boat certificated for 376 passengers, had 2,300 passengers on it, 6 times its legal limit, 100 horses and 1 stove for a 7-day trip. Haulers blew out of Memphis, 1,700 people lost life, bigger than that Titanic. And then he later became the governor of Wisconsin. This alley here's named, but this other alley up there, General Washburn's escape alley. And he's the one that named General Mills, because he was the general. He later got in the cereal business. When you're at your Cheerios tomorrow, you think about General Washburn jumping out that window here in Memphis, running by AutoZone Park, not even stopping by the Rendezvous to get ribs, right? It wasn't here till 1948. That's who that's all named for, General Washburn right there. And escape alley kind of extends a little bit further this way. They put Bedford on it because leading to Bedford that way, I guess, who ain't there no more. Well, he is there, but it's horse and statue ain't. He and Miss Forrest are still buried there. And they kind of talk about the perimeter of this place. The Edge, I guess 20, 25 years ago, got the name The Edge because it was on the edge of downtown. Downtown was trying to grow north and south with South Main, North Main, Trolley, St. Jude, Pyramid, all that, Beale Street. And then you come over Danny Thomas, the Gale Sabaya and all that, and you kind of get out into this area, and then you get to the medical center, which was huge. You know, and it still is huge with UT and all the hospitals, but it was kind of a hole of a donut. It has been until like the last 4 or 5 years, and now it's really starting to fill in. So you kind of go almost over to Victorian Village to the north, like Jefferson there, I guess you would say, up to maybe Manassas, and then Union, back down to Danny Thomas or 4th, I guess. That's kind of your edge district. So there's 2 main arteries in here, Monroe, Marshall, and Madison, really, for the edge district. I put in here, Gale Bayou, Memphis and Charleston Railroad, Yellow Fever, Union Avenue, Auto Row, Urban Renewal, Scottish Rite Building from like 1907 right over there, Forest Park, UTCHS or UTHCS, whatever it is, Peabody, Ford Motor Plant, Sam Phillips Recording, and Southwest Tennessee Community College. Things have coming in here. You know, where the commercial appeal used to be was the Ford Motor Plant there until 1933. Commercial appeal moves in there. They moved down to South Parkway. And then the commercial appeal builds the big building, tears that building down, and then they head out to South Main there by where old Goldsmiths used to be. That's where Commercial Appeal is now, in Goldsmiths' 3rd floor. Think about that when that was downtown. You remember when you go to the Liberty Bowl and see the flag on the top of the press box there, you think it's a modern LED flag. Oh, it looks beautiful. It's 14 feet by 12 feet. It's iron, it's metal, fabricated together. It started in 1907 down here at 2nd and Court, okay, where the appeal was. On that building right there, and it moved to 495 Union in 1933 when the Commercial Appeal moved to there, and then in 1977 when they built the new building, it got sent to the Liberty Bowl when Memphis Memorial Stadium became Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium. And so that flag right there has 277 light bulbs. Used to be here in the Edge District, but next time you drive down Central and Union and see it lit at night, think about this, 277 screw-in light bulbs on that flag from 1907. 120 red, let's see, 45 blue and 112 white. I think it adds up to 277, but that's close. Only 45 stars because we only had 45 states at the time. We didn't have Alaska, Hawaii, New Mexico, or Oklahoma. So that flag that flies over our Liberty Bowl, all the football games, you see it every night burning. It's over 100 years old. It has electrical moving parts. It's been on 3 different rooftops, and it still works. Does anything else in Memphis do that? Besides Ken, right? He's 100. But I learned out about that because I was the deputy director of the Park Commission. The switch brew one night, and the Commercial Appeal calls up, you didn't burn the flag this week. What's wrong? Because our deal was, when we loaned it to you and they installed it up there, we had to burn it every night and replace the parts and repair it. That's the deal. We got it for free. So that's why I burned. That's the meaning behind that flag there that came out of the Edge, a little Edge DNA with that, okay? You think of that flag. A Blue City Tour started about 30 years ago. Melvin Bledsoe's still the owner. African-American tour company, does a really good job. I think he does these hop-on, hop-offs as well. They used to be over on Union Avenue. Then he moved into here because that Union Road's going to be taken up sometime soon, we think. And Melvin does a terrific job. I've interviewed him on the radio sometime. He's very conscientious about his work and what he does, whether it's bus tours or small groups, big groups of any kind. So it's very good to have a tenant, a tourism tenant right here. And there's another big tourism tenant you won't believe on down the road here. Sammy, yeah.
This is going to be the new restaurant.
This is going to be a new restaurant.
Yeah, this is the
Quetzal
chef
used to
tent.
be here and things like that, if
Yeah.
you remember.
Okay, and then you know in the streets how these are all crisscrossed
Yeah.
and all that. Before the auto row, this was a railroad hub where people would drop, you know, freight and all that stuff. Hence, you will see all these streets all weird, you know, A's and all that. That's
We'll talk about the Memphis and Charleston big rail station when we get down
Yeah,
here.
that's
Monroe.
further
All
down.
right, let's go this way. I think when I talk to the Edge District, I'm talking to the Edge District Tuesday night. I'm staying in town an extra day just to talk to my friend Sammy here. But we got to get some of these murals identified, who the artists were, what the meanings are. Those rabbits and cats there and wasp and all that. American Speed, I guess that's something oh, that's American Speed. That's one of the displays right now. This is where Weekly Equipment Company was. I remember Mr. Weekly, what a great guy he was repairing lawnmowers in there. Yeah, he was a locksmith. All right, let's go on in the Edge right here.
This is the new antique car museum that just opened here.
Formerly here was St. Blues Guitars, and before that, Crump Paget Antiques. There's Richard. Go see Richard right there. Watch your step. It's slick as ice. It's clean and slick as ice. I mean, you feel like you're in a Stanley Kubrick movie in here or something, you know? It's really cool. Doing all right?
Yeah, doing great.
All right?
Great.
Come on, man. All right, just
4 minutes is going to drop that on.
go ahead and do it right now. Just go ahead and stop, and we'll just.
Paint that
What's
thing,
your
sand it
most
down.
famous or expensive car down here?
The most famous one is by far this Crosley, the number 19 car.
19.
Crosley,
Come on,
their
come on and look.
granddaughter actually lives here in Memphis, Jennifer Velasquez. She and her husband Jose run the James Lee House.
The Lee House.
She's a
Velasquez, yeah.
Crosley. Now, most people know Crosley as a inventor doing radios and things like that. But this is called the Crosley Hotshot, and it is truly America's first sports car. Now, it is currently in track mode, all right? So Monday through Friday, this car would have a bumper, a windshield, it'd have better doors, and you could have a top and things like that. But on Saturday, you go to the track and you take all that stuff off for safety reasons and for weight reasons, and all those parts were attached with wing nuts. So you could do it in about 10 minutes.
See?
Super cool. That car
He's a
has
wing
a
nut.
sheet metal motor, so it's super light. It's hard to imagine. We've actually got an engine block up in the up there, and he was designing engine blocks out of sheet metal to get them in aircraft because weight's pretty important. But he was incredibly innovative. That car has disc brakes when no one else has disc brakes. Now they're 6 inches, but 26 horsepower.
What year?
That 1949. That car won a Sebring race. That very, very car. The thing that used to drive me nuts about it.
It looks like a Dodgem car, doesn't it?
Well, it looks like an early European car. It's something that a GI would have seen over there during World War II. And so let's tailor it. It looks like a Bug-Eye Sprite, a lot of people say. But the 19s are all different when you look at it. It's because they were in such a hurry to enter. 3 different people painted them. And so they're in 3 different fonts.
Sure.
And there is a photo on the
You call that a font?
But there's a photo on there of the car competing in the race and of when they won, the flags on it, and he's getting the trophy, and there's people hollering in the background. I think it's the best photo in the whole museum. Pretty neat.
What's your favorite, though? I mean, is that it? Or
My
got to be a convertible,
My
right?
favorite is the 57 Thunderbird.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my favorite car.
I got 3 of those.
It's not the most valuable. The most valuable one here is this GT500. It's one of 6 built with a 427. It is absolutely perfect. It is placed on loan from an anonymous person who also does this one over here. I deal with his mechanic on this, and we've got the person who has power of attorney on that estate has put the car on loan with us, and so
Good.
the paperwork's all just fine.
Folks, he's open 10:30 to 5 Monday through Friday and 11 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday, right?
Sunday 12 to 4. So
Sunday
you can go
12 to
church
4.
first.
Oh, we got to go to church and pray for his bad soil underneath here, right? So no.
No, the soil checked out. That's what
So see now I guarantee you when they were doing that 100 years ago, nobody had to check the soil out before they got to,
No, but the bank said the soil was
Yeah.
fine. so
Okay.
we
Well,
could get
good. Well,
financing to do
that's the
this
way that
place
is.
here.
All right. Another rule when you're a tourist, there's 3 rules of being a tourist. Let's see if I get it right this time. Right? You don't stand when you can sit. You don't walk when you can ride, and you don't pass up a water fountain. Okay? I'm going to go to the water fountain right over here. Ask
also-
Richard a couple of questions right here.
Also,
Okay?
if you need to use the restroom, there's
Oh.
big restrooms down there. And there's a small one right here.
People come to Sun Studio where they got to wait 2 hours or something like that. They went, so they kind of walk down here and see this, you know, and that's a nice little twin attraction, real close by. All right, we're ready to take back off again, but come back, Richard. Thank you so much.
Please come back.
It's been a great week. When I walked in, oh yeah, we will.
Motor Museum.
When I walked in, I'm scared of that floor right there. I'm gonna slide, you know. Such a clean-looking place. When I graduated from MUS in 1970, I had a haircut like this too, by the way. Otis Redding, December 7th, 1967. He's in the studio at Stax, right? With the Barcades. It's a high school band from Booker T, high school age band from Booker T. Washington, his band was. And it's late on a Thursday night. They're always late at night. And at the end, he starts whistling, you know. He whistles it out. Well, Steve Cropper comes out, goes, okay, everybody's tired. You got to get on the road tomorrow. They can only travel on the weekend because they're high school kids. Let's just cut it right here. We'll cut because you're whistling. We'll finish it up next week. So they go to Nashville the next day and play at a fraternity that John Elkington's in. This is 1967. He told me, James Alexander told me this the other day. Can you hold that for me? I'm waving this around. And then they go to Cleveland, play the concert, and they're flying to Madison, Wisconsin. The plane crashes. Otis Redding gets killed. All the Barcades get killed except for one. Let's be quiet. I want y'all to listen to this. All right, now think about this. Ben Colley holds on to a seat cushion because he couldn't swim, and he survives out of those cold waters. And later on, he plays at the airport bar for 30 years. Now, if I survived a plane crash that Otis Redding got killed, I would not go near an airport again, right? You know. And they come back and they don't have the words to that last voice. Well, Otis had whistled that in. That's why the whistle part is left in there. They didn't have the words to that when they finished recording. James Alexander was in a second plane, so he did survive because he went in the Otis Redding plane with Mrs. Redding. So he's still the original member of the Barcades, and they're having a 55-year reunion or something concert in about a week or so downtown here. But so it becomes the #1 song in the country, March of 1968, and then April 4th, Dr. King gets shot, and that's when things start unraveling for Stax and all that in the downtown area. So next time you hear Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, think about that. That song was made, and man died 27 years old in the prime. One of the greatest voices we've ever had was Otis Redding. So I never got to meet him or anything, but I did meet James Alexander, still around. David Porter, who wrote Soul Man, Hold On, I'm Coming. He's got a studio right over here at 400 Union, right across. That's where the old United Way used to be. He's written 1,700 songs, David Porter. Soul Man, Hold On, I'm Coming. I Thank You, all the Sam and Dave songs. He and Isaac Hayes were great prolific songwriters. So now, hey, Sammy, a couple years ago, Kat Pena, I know, Kat.
Yeah, she put that up there.
They had some grants out and stuff for urban art. Started about 25 years ago. Carissa, whose song was with that, she's at the Metal Museum now. And they got some set-aside money and public projects to start beautifying or getting more art into the public spaces in downtown Memphis. So that set aside some money for that. And they've gotten grants and other philanthropic sponsorships. And so when they want to design this area here, what's the #1 theme so far? It hadn't been Elvis or Sam Phillips, has it? It's been automobiles. It seems like auto. And obviously, her design here over this intersection, the only one like this in Memphis, I hadn't seen it. I used to see these type of things over used car lots or used car lots, you know. They probably still do in some of the areas. And so they made this over the intersection here. And you can obviously tell how they've softened up this intersection. Because again, Monroe was, or Marshall was the one way. I think the stop signs were on Monroe. And now Moreau's one way that way, 2 ways that way west. Both, this Marshall's 2 ways here. You got this where you got parking out here in kind of a funny situation. You got some streetscape out here for people to sit on tables, some artwork too. So Cat had a design team that developed a lot of this artwork right here. I cannot identify all the names of all the structures like this sculpture right here, this long spiral. Sammy, you know the name of that?
A pointy thing.
A pointy thing, okay. Okay. Say hello. So when I talked to the Edge District, I should have prepared, I should have called and said, give me the name to all these different murals and sculptures and artwork in the Edge, because we just did, on the Madison tour, we did the Artery, which is from 2nd Street Stereo Alley, comes around to Maggie Isbell and goes straight down to Union. And they've done new streetscapes in there and about 12 different murals in there. There's 5 o'clock today, there's a party at the Artery. They're marching it and identifying all those things about, you know, artwork like this, murals. And we need to somehow get a way to identify who all these murals are on the walls, like just a little plaque or name, you know, painted on there.
Yeah, it's
Johnson.
Martial arts guy did it, Anthony Lee.
Okay,
I can
so
talk to him.
we can see if that's a small project, we get a couple $100 funded to do that or something.
We
Help.
have that on our
Yeah,
plan.
okay. I'll help support that. Well, everybody's in favor, raise your right hand. See? Backbeat Tours, anybody done Backbeat Tours? Yeah, I do. Bill Patton, about 12, 15 years ago, came from Washington, D.C. He was a lawyer. He got kind of bored with Washington, D.C. and being a lawyer, and I could see how. He loved Memphis. Came on a bunch of my walking tours, and all of a sudden he writes a book called Downtown Memphis, The History of Downtown Memphis. I said, I got credit in the front of the book for some of the stuff. I know he's a great guy. And he started Backbeat Tours, where you're on there with a musician who doesn't have a seatbelt on, and they're facing you, not the driver, and they're singing songs like Johnny Cash and Elvis, and they're taking a tour of all the musical sites in Memphis and talking and singing Memphis history with a real good musician with a guitar. It's a really neat way to do tours. They do the ghost tours in downtown Memphis. Back during May, during the bicentennial, they did they had different characters on there like Boss Crump or people like that, you know, Sam Phillips, whatever, telling their stories as well. Or they get to a stop and the character would come on the bus at that stop, like in front of Sun Studio or in front of a Piggly Wiggly. Here comes Clarence Saunders or something like that, where it was founded. So Bill Patton, backbeattours.com is a great way to go around town for a tour. Let's go this way.
Also in the works, we're going to be updating all these and put more of these.
Oh, yeah. Let's, the easiest way to come through here, there's Michael Todd, we'll give him credit for this, right?
Yeah.
Mike Todd. Tactical urbanism is what it was called.
Yeah.
You like that term? Tactical urbanism. That's when you're going to do something, don't want the government to know, you're going to get nothing put up and ask for forgiveness because it's such a cool thing.
Yeah,
Just do it. So we started way up there at Sun Studio. You see a rock walk sign. It's called Rock Walk. It's about 12 of them, I guess. As we get all the way down to Union Avenue down here. And on one side, here's Otis Redding right here. It says martial arts and a couple of places to go. Well, Evelyn and whatever. And then on the other side, it does tell a fact about the Edge, about some other building.
That's his business right there.
Right there. So boom, boom, martial arts. So it also does a double thing because, again, and there's some auto stuff in here too, but music was so big. And then the other ancillary businesses, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, as the whole streetscape changed. So this, he did this on his own. He didn't get permission or nothing. Just stuck these in the sidewalk, and all of a sudden, Downtown Memphis Commission goes, what? Code enforcement goes, what? Because gosh, when I was at the Rock and Soul Museum, if we stinking MLG&W, if we wanted to put a banner on a pole, it cost us $75 a month, by a little nonprofit thing to put it on a pole, and you had to get all sorts of permission. Calvin Turley with the Cotton Museum went to the Downtown Memphis Commission, wanted to put some banners like that in that area, and they said, okay, do it. Calvin didn't pay a dime. I went through the right procedures. I'm paying $75 a month for 12 banners. That's a lot of advertising, you know. So sometimes it pays just to ask for forgiveness, right, rather than permission. And I think they set it all out under the new term, tactical urbanism, is an entrepreneur trying to do something different. You know, again, not to have this. And look at the landscape in here now. If you'd have come here 5 years ago, this was a pretty boring landscape in here without the streamers up there and the softening of all this. And it's really become, again, about 10 years ago when we did the first bike lane in Memphis on Madison Avenue from Overton Square downtown, people were going nuts, right? Business owners, you're going to put us out of business. And to this day, there's no bicycle riders on the stupid thing, but it's made it a better street. Sometimes the ancillary result is better than the intended result. It made it a better street. Sooner or later, the bicycles will start coming. We use our greenways and our green lines great for exercise. I think our bike lanes don't have anything yet, but yeah, you got to wait 2 lights at Madison and McLean to get through during rush hour. So what? It's a better street. Yeah, they got parking on the street right by the businesses. It didn't take the parking away. Look at over the square. There's cars on the street all the time. It's got the bike lanes. Everybody's going slow. It's a better street. We'll get the bikes. It'll be the best street. So we're 1 step away. But some of these things soften these streets up is a good thing to do. Now, I'll kill every jaywalker, but you know, if they just walk in these lanes, we paint all these nice green lanes down and crosswalks and everything, and get in there, you know. All right, let's keep on going this way. Yo, again, there are about 12 of these, about 1 every 200 feet or so. Of course, this side talks about the building. This is Mike Todd's building here, Premier Palace. It's a event place in here. And of course, right over there's Club 616. It had a rowdy reputation before, I guess, 152 took it away from over on Beale Street. You know, of course, there's Wilbur and Bud Chittum and all them guys, you know. But I think the funniest place down there was after it changed from 616, the new people came in with a restaurant and a music venue, and somehow they slipped a loop somewhere and they started having topless dancing in there. And city council found out about that. Wait a minute, we didn't permit that. You know, somebody cut it. But the place was called the Tenderloin. It was a steakhouse called the Tenderloin, but it was coincides a topless joint. You know? The Hudson Hornet was the most notable car sold right here a long time. This building, which hosted a rap party for Walk the Line 2005. Everybody remember Walk the Line? And this neighborhood, before we got the streamers here maybe, was a great neighborhood for scenes like that in movies from the 1950s. South Main is great for that. Great Balls of Fire, Walk the Line. All you got to do is take the modern cars off the street, go get Hugh over here to bring his cars up, you know, queue up the antique cars, and it's 1950s automatically. Hollywood loves that, you know. Bluff City Law's filming in Memphis right now too, and apparently the Brian Banks movie's coming out right now too. There's a lot of that was filmed in Memphis as well. I wish I knew who drew that saxophone right there. I'm just kind of picky about wanting to know who did something, when, where, why.
Anthony Lee.
Anthony Lee! We'll go write his name on there. I guess it's spray paint. Okay. So a variety, Cat Pena had a variety. I met with them one time. We talked about, the reason why they brought me up, they wanted to walk through the Gale so by, and I just got my cease and desist letter from the city to stop doing that. That's all I'm good. I figured out at the end of the meeting that was all I was good for. Once I told them that, they kind of like, oh, okay, Jimmy. But I got to meet with the artist because Kat had coordinated and tried to come up with ideas. She also did that over on Highland Avenue for the Lobes too. So she's been around a lot doing that, and you got to give her credit for coming up with. I could have thought of that, and much less installed it. And it looks different from every different angle you come at it too, and it's always blowing. So there was 6 or 7, I guess, or 8 other artists that were either sculptors or muralists or whatever, a variety of medium or media. Doing that, so you'll see their touches here and there. All right, let's go on down the road. Our next stop will be down here by Kudzu's, okay? So when you come up Union, you'll see some green spot over there on the north side of Union, and the original Ford motor plant was up to the street there, the brick motor plant that the commercial peel took over. So a lot of times the guys would come take their breaks, come walk across the street, sit out in the park, that lower end down there right from the commercial peel or press cemetery, smoke cigarettes, whatever, parked over here. Kudzu's used to have a deck back here. Kudzu's closed about 5 years ago. It opened about 30 years ago. 603 is the address. It says Cannon. It was Cannon Oil Company there. We know that. And Kudzu's was a late night funky type of bar, but had good burgers and good music. One of my best friends, Martin, used to work there. He's back at the Westies now. He was at North End. He served me the first beer I've ever drank in my life. I was 34 years old. He does my website now. He's taking care of me now, but great guy. Steve Edmondson ran it for a long time. Jerry came in from Indiana. Things started changing. It just kind of went away. Restaurant and bar business is the hardest business in the world to be in. So give these folks credit. High Cotton came in. It helped because he didn't hurt it. High Cotton Brewery over here, one of our probably 8 or 9 or 10 now local brew companies. When you think of Wiseacre and who? Oh, you like them? And the High Cotton, let's see, the Memphis Made and Crosstown and Meddlesome. Keep naming them. Wolfram, who does the,
Ghost River.
Ghost River. Huh? Cider's coming into Cooper Young, right? Used to be out there in Barrettville. Are they still doing Barrettville?
I think so.
That's it. Got the three peacocks out there, George, and out there there's three peacocks out there running around. But High Cotton is over there nighttime, and you got Edge Alley, a breakfast and breakfast lunch, dinner, lunch, breakfast, brunch. Last time I was in there was about 6 months ago. June West called me, let's eat lunch down here at Edge Alley. I said, okay. And then after, hey, walk down here. I want to show you the Heritage Building Supply. We'll go down there in Memphis in a minute. Then she gave me a hard hat and some gloves. Come on over here. And there's like 6 other guys she had kidnapped or something, going into Wonder Bread Factory to get some of the stuff out of there for Heritage Building Supply. So I totally got reamed on that, you know. I'll never eat lunch with June again. The time before that, I was working at Beale Street Landing, and she was over at the Marine Hospital. Look at Milton. Come here, Milton. Come here. Come on. Look at here. God, take your buds off.
What's going on, Jimmy?
Come here. I met Milton in 2006 down in Whitehaven. The microphone's right here.
Okay.
He was working as a counselor at the Welcome Center down there for the Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau at the time. We were redoing the decor in there. He and Grace and Patsy and all them, a great staff. He has grown up. 14 years later, and what's your job right now?
I'm Director of Public Relations for Memphis Tourism.
That's for the whole 11 million visitors a year and $3.2 billion economic impact, and travel writers from all over the world. He gets to take them around, ideas, all this. I'm really proud of Milton here. You're being filmed. You're being filmed, by the way.
I'll start it with Jimmy interrupting me, giving instructions at the Visitor Center in Whitehaven. I thought, who is this guy? It's interrupting my instructions, but I didn't want to be rude, so I continued to let him give instructions because they were correct. And I said, okay, so he clearly knows something, and then he introduced himself after interrupting.
Thank you. No, we've been great. He's been great. And then he worked for Bass Pro for a while too.
Oh,
in fact, the day he opened it up, they called me like 2 days before and said, can you come over to the top of Bass Pro when we open up and tell us what we're looking at? Okay, remember that?
Yeah, I do remember.
And so I'd walked up there about 15 times in the years before they had the elevator or anything, you know, because we could go in there and it's 555 steps up, you know, and got to see that view. And so I said, and so we got over there today to do it, and they'd have a power failure that day. I ain't walking up them steps. So we waited out 45 minutes until they got the power back on. We took the elevator up, and we looked around. I developed for different people. I couldn't train a staff at that time in a day to tell you what you're looking at, but you can have a little paper here, and I'll stand out there. So when Bass Pro opened up and had the flying Elvi fly in, you know, parachute in, I got to meet the flying Elvi. They came up there, and all those people came up, and I got to give the tours on open day because of him. I got to be up there looking down at all the 10,000 people or whatever down there and all the air show. And then he went on back into Memphis Tourism. It's now Memphis Tourism, not Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau. Third largest employer in our community is is hospitality and tourism. Attractions, restaurants, hotels, taxis, Ubers, all those guys, carriages, whatever you think. It's an amazing industry here. Our brand, the further you get away from Memphis, the better our name is. We are so tough on ourselves. We shoot ourselves in the foot a lot here locally, but I used to tell people, and all the stuff I used to do tourism-wise, my tourists would come in, they drop in like Santa Claus one day. They go to Graceland, they go to Civil Rights Museum, they go to Beale Street, they don't get the purse snatched, they don't watch the 10 o'clock news, they don't read the morning newspaper, they're out here in 2.5 days, they think they've been to Disneyland. Our heritage tourism here, Sun Studio, Stax, Graceland, Civil Rights Museum, on and on and on, the little museums, and then stuff like Edge Motor Museum that complements things. It's phenomenal, the product we got here. And I did the riverboats. 70% of the people coming in those big riverboats from the East Coast, West Coast America, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Europe. Coming to the middle of America, they called it Americana. We take all this for granted. We want to go to Hawaii. We want to go to Europe. It's the same cost either way. Demand is here for people coming from all over the world to come to here.
Over 11 million visitors.
For people like him.
Getting close to 1 million per month.
Woo! There you go. So it's a growing thing. It's a good thing. It's new outside money coming in. And don't fuss about the convention center expansion because it's those outsiders are getting taxed for it. It's their money paying for it, not us taxpayers. Think about that, $175 million. We're not paying for it. Somebody else is paying for it. Isn't that cool? You know, you go check in a hotel room somewhere, $99 for the rate, or probably $399 for the ones you go to, right? After Las Vegas and stuff like Collierville. And by the time you get your bill, $99, all about 150 bucks in it. Airport tax, wheel tax, this tax, that tax, you know. That's how it's getting. You tax it on up. Those outsiders pay for these things coming in. They don't know it. They don't care. They're going to pay it. They got the money. I want to spend. Get that money's burning holes in their pockets. They go to those bars and restaurants. This is great. So thank you, Milton.
You're welcome.
You're supposed to be running, not walking.
You know, it was a run/walk.
No,
I was
it's over.
guaranteed to do 2 miles before I go to lunch.
Run out of my
so
eyesight.
late
I
lunch.
want to see you running.
Well, I'm going right to my house.
Milton Howery, great guy. All right, Cotton Bridge. Let's go on down to the bridge right here. Here's something really special is going to happen right over here. 10 years ago, nobody would have thought of a bar out here going out into the street like that, because the traffic is wildly going up and down here. It's just another indicator of the changing nature of getting out and getting people out like they do. Now, this area right here, the first railroad to ever connect the Atlantic Ocean with the Mississippi River came right through here, underneath us. The railroad out there in Kyrieville that nobody likes, and East Memphis that nobody likes, the Southern Railroad, at the time it was the Memphis and Charleston Railroad.
Jimmy, what is this under? What is this, a road or is this a
You're going to tell him what I just said.
I heard.
Okay, this was the rail bed. I'll go. I'll do the whole story right here. So, boom, the rail lines came right underneath us here. So it comes down. Well, we built up around it. It was there first on the high ridge. It comes westbound through Kyrieville, Germantown, White Station by the fairgrounds. Comes over there by Elmwood, and then splits off over there at Lamar and heads this way, right by the Commercial Appeal. It came right up underneath there. The rail lines came right underneath here. We built our bridges over it. It was built 1857 when it was here. You see, we hadn't even started really successfully coming through the Gayoso Bayou, all the way past Madison, down into where the Wendy's is. You know where the Wendy's is on Danny Thomas. Now, Danny Thomas was not there at the time. That was a big, from 1857 on, that was a big rail yard with about 10 sidings in there and a depot, okay? So again, you're coming underneath this. This is a bridge. It was a tunnel underneath
I mean, today, right now.
Okay.
You can't drive.
No, you cannot drive here. Hold that for me. So, I'm in the 18th century. I'll get in the 20th century. I'll get in the 21st century. Okay, now. So, 1857, you're on up. It was a huge deal, right? And then it had a spur line down Adams down to the riverfront to the cobblestones. So here's your choice. You can put all your cotton bales on a barge, right, or a steamboat at the time. Go down the Mississippi River past New Orleans, around Florida, back up to Charleston or Savannah, and then to England. Or you could put it on a railroad here and go straight across this way. So, that's what you started really having cotton going back and forth this way, or picking things up along the line where it didn't have to come to Memphis. They could head on that way. And it was a viable railroad. In 1912, Union Station opens down there. 1914, Central Station. Union Station got torn down in the 60s. So in the 1880s, we had 8 different railroad depots in downtown Memphis. Where the MATA transfer station is in the Pinch, that was the L&N, Louisville and Nashville Railroad, that went out by Sears Crosstown and on out that way. You had where Waterford Plaza is, there at Beale and Wagner and Riverside. That was the Chesapeake, Ohio and Southwestern Railroad up until the 1950s, because that Riverside line came up through there, up through all the warehouses in South Main. And you look at the old pictures and maps of South Main below the two railroads. There's over 100 railroad lines in those areas that came up the spur lines where all the boxcars and everything, and all those businesses west of Main Street. You had the doors where the boxcars would come along and they'd open up, and that's where the warehouse. We didn't get President's Island until the 1950s, and that shifted the movements here, the expressways, the extra bridges. So by the 1960s, this station was becoming obsolete by the 1960s. So it's still an active rail line through the 1960s. And about 1966 or 67, it got closed and torn down. And at the time, it was the oldest operating continuously railroad station in the country, like over 110 years, very outdated. And now you got Lauderdale here, Wellington, Charleston was also a name you see on those streets. So right down there across from Blue Cross Blue Shield on Danny Thomas, you see a thing called Edison Park Apartments, a big berm right there. Well, that was a part of that old area too, and they started losing railroad lines in there. They built Edison Park in there because Thomas Edison lived across the street in the 1860s there when he was in Memphis You've heard of Thomas Edison, haven't you? Yeah, that Thomas Edison. He lived in Memphis, 1865, 1866. He worked for the Military Telegraph Company. He was a very inventive guy, right? Had about 1,000 patents. He was always getting in trouble, being a crazy, you know, blowing things up. So he had to move from city to city in his young age. And he came to Memphis and worked for the Military Telegraph Company. He invented the telegraph relay in Memphis. He invented a contraption you can electrocute cockroaches with in Memphis. See any cockroaches? He was also a bat boy for the amateur baseball team. Our second most famous bat boy, Stan, was our most famous. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records, Stan Bronson. I got his baseball card in my pocket. So he left on, but that was Edison Park Apartments. That was named for him, and his grandson was here in the picture. It was Edison Park at first. Then they brought the apartments in there when they reconfigured. So they tore the train station out, reconfigured that up, and I learned that. Our parks were cutting those slopes. That's a part of a street maintenance, because back in the 80s, we cut parkland, street maintenance cut medians. Now we're cutting this out. I thought it was a street median, and that's how I found out about it as former Edison Park. So why send two different crews down to cut on outside the street? So we started, if you got a crew going in that area, you cut that grass. We'll make sure we cut the same acres. We don't need some crews on the road driving around all the time when, you know, you can do certain crews that way. We think good sometimes in public utilities, and yeah, we do. I know you had to. But so now you get up to the 60s and 70s, and it just, after the 60s, it closed down. They pulled up the tracks except to the commercial appeal of Memphis Publishing Company. And all that ink and that paper that was delivered to print all those newspaper was brought in by train there, that train siding that stops right over there on the east side of the building. If you go south of there, past Beale, past Vanden and Vance and Linden, you'll see where the train bed was, and over there about north of Elmwood, it cuts over and then picks up like below the fairgrounds that way under Lamar. So this all got closed off at that time. Nobody, for a while you could drive up through here, I guess through the 80s and 90s, because there were some businesses here that used their loading docks, not for trains, but for trucks. Now, here's what's really cool. Where's my pieces of paper here? Because this area has got about a $5 million design on it now called the Ravine. Anybody know about the Ravine? Well, you know more than I do? Come on. But if you look at, now for 10 years I used to go to kudzus a lot. If you look down that way, and particularly when we come back on Madison, you look down that way, you see this slope right here, down into that valley. You see the back sides of these buildings and the loading docks, they cry out for, there's going to be a deck right there where a band's going to be playing from. This is a little amphitheater here, or there's playgrounds in there, or benches, or other artwork, you know, studios in here, restaurants in this area, all the way from Madison there to Union Avenue, 2 blocks long, called the Ravine underneath it. I mean, take a picture of it now. Come back in 5 years. Seriously, this is the last unknown, untapped spot of downtown. Look at the trees that are already here for shade. You know, when you go to some of these other, there's no trees over there where we were earlier today in Madison, you know. But you can imagine just cutting all these weeds one time for a picture, or just photoshopping them out of the picture, right? I've seen the renderings. But let me look up. I think I had some stats here on this. Oops. I thought. Oh, me. Well, $5 million project. They've already got the renderings. If you can go on, I forget the website you can go on. I got to come back with that. And see some of the renderings and some of all the public areas that are going to be put in here as the growth comes in. And when we go down one more block, you're going to start seeing, oh, he's just talking big, and it's going to be 30 years. But if you see what's happening down here in one more block, it's coming now. You see some of the things happening here. You don't know that Milton lived over here, did you? But people are living back in these buildings and stuff. When you see the designs for the Ravine, like I say, there'll be a playground or two, public art spaces, performance spaces. Again, a 2-block area with this slope, you know, leading up into the buildings. If you saw the difference today between the alley we walked down, that's the art alley. We saw how nicely with the murals and the flowers and stuff and the streetscape and no weeds, to an alley that's unimproved. It's the difference in daylight and dark. So the Ravine, just the ravine.com, I guess, or something we can Google the edge. We'll get that right. All right, Downtown Memphis Commission website has a link, and look at some of the ideas. Apparently funding is in place or almost here or something like that. It is a very vital, it won't be a Beale Street. It won't be a Main Street Mall. It'll be very pedestrian, bicycly, no cars in here, I guess, and all that, because it's not a road. And it's going to be a really cool area. You're taking a ravine, a gully, weed-infested area unused. And as the population fills in, as the whole of the donut fills in from the medical center back to downtown, you're in the edge, but you're not on the edge anymore. We have to change the name of the place, right? Got to think of the new name already here. Start thinking. All right, come on this way. Designed for community, recreation, and artistry. Retail plaza, kids-friendly play area, flexible seating, amphitheater, festival event spaces, food and beverage spaces, micro retail, performing art, murals, green space. Does that give you enough definitions there? And you might, if you go to, well, DSG is the one doing these apartments over here. That's another group. So Ravine is a whole separate project. The Ravine. Go to downtownmemphiscommission.com or downtownmemphis.com.
Downtown Memphis. Yeah, downtownmemphis.com, and then
just they'll find the project. You get the renderings of the dreams and designs. I think things have been approved already by Design Review Board and Center City Revenue Finance Corporation, all that stuff. So it's beyond the thinking about it stage. And when you see some of the realities coming down here. All right, George W. Salmons here. You know Jack Salmons. Everybody, if you don't know Jack Salmons, then you're a loser. You don't know nobody. Jack is about the most popular guy all around town. Mostly popular, right, Ken? I mean, I've known him for a long time. He did a yeoman's job in 2010. He and Phil Cannon did it at the golf tournament when they lost Stanford as the sponsor that year, like in February, and had to pull that through with Smith and Nephew Richards and FedEx and St. Jude. And Richard Shadyac had just come on to St. Jude. FedEx hopped in there. Give Jack a lot of credit for that. Of course, he was a city councilman and a CEO of the mayor and all this other stuff. But Ampro Products, he's been around. Family was in the vending machine business, pinball machines. Jack told me one time he took a pinball machine that's in the racquetball court down there at Graceland to Elvis one time. He delivered it to him when he was working for Salmons Pennington as a college-age kid, you know. Jack has the greatest stories. But the whole family, Pappy Salmons, Pappy's and Jimmy's, Pappy's out there. Again, Salmons Pennington was here, just huge. Now, Holiday has come in. Holiday Flowers is one of their branches right here. They're the ones that do all the flowers at the Peabody Hotel. I know that. They changed that lobby fountain arrangement once every 4 days at night, in the middle of the night. Put a whole scaffolding up there and change it. They do all the work in the Peabody. So Holiday's Flowers is very cherished. Do a lot of parties and stuff. Here's I don't know if that's a part of the Holidays design. I don't think that's a Holidays mural. I think that globe right there is somebody else's artwork, and the Holidays chipping in on it there. These apartments came about 15 years ago. They've been here for a long time. Again, that was just an empty area like you see 10 or 15 years ago. This was really, you think it's empty now. It was really empty then. Wait till you get down to this area. Come on. This was a place right here called Murdoch Printing. It was a printing company right here. And Bill, I forget Bill's last name, but at the golf tournament out there in the 70s, we're at Colonial Country Club, New Colonial, out there in Cordova. We just moved out there. Phil Cannon and I were working in the press room. He later became the director. I was doing calligraphy scoring, but every night they would come in and get all the results from the daytime of that day to print up those pairing sheets for the next day, you know? And Bill Capel, he would bring it down here and they'd print the pairing sheets. He had to manually drive them down here, 144 scores and everything, change it every day, and get it printed out overnight to bring out to the golf tournament at sunrise the next day to hand out to the people coming in, you know. That's how he did it. I had to come down here sometimes to Murdoch Printing because Bill Capel was just too drunk to come down here waiting out. It took to like leaving at 10 o'clock at night to get all the results in and tabulated and corrected and get them in. But I had to come down here a lot to pick up. Of course, now it's all done electronically and like this, you know. We don't even do the hole-by-hole scoring anymore. It's all done electronically. But we used to do the leaderboard where we had a wooden plank like this with 18 nails on it, and you put the number for the relation to par, and then somebody'd open the door and the wind would blow them all off, and have to blow them again. Or it'd be like, I remember Kenny Bozak. Y'all might remember that name. He's an Uber driver. He's a great, he used to be on radio and everything. Great guy. He was in there. He kind of didn't know much about it. But the relation to par is like, if you're a red one, you're one under par. You par the next hole, you're still one under par. You par the next hole, you're still one under par. You know, somebody's got it. So this guy was a red one. God just hit 3 straight hole-in-ones. It wasn't your score, it's your relation to par. Shut up, get off the air. We got it, you know. But you know, James Owens and Clay Bay. James Owens just texted me about something. They would be the ones manually changing those things on wooden boards and nails. Just think how far we've come. So obviously, business like that all the printing business, commercial appeals now being printed in Jackson. They've moved their offices to Goldsmiths, you know, and all this stuff. world changes, just like the guy bragging about they were so conscientious about putting the oil in the ground down the manhole cover. Wait a minute, we just didn't know any better at the time, and times have changed. So this company left the business, printing company left, you know, and I don't think anything's in there yet, but it'll come. Now look right here, because this is a part of the old Wonder Bread factory. Wonder Bread started in the early 1920s in Louisville, I think it was Louisville, Kentucky, and the guy had gone to a balloon race, a balloon show, hot air balloon show, and saw the different colored balloons up there in the air, you know. He just wondered about them. So that's how they named Wonder Bread. That's how they got the balloons on the logo. They came to Memphis. Hostess products were baked here. And then about, 8 years ago, here comes a car, Ron. He's turning. See, he's scared of us. They went on strike, you know, and they closed down. We couldn't get our Twinkies. Man, that was tough on me. But, and they went out of business. They settled something. They later on went out of business. Design, let's see, this is Gary Prosterman came in and brought up a bunch of these buildings. Design Services Group. So this is 286 apartments right here. And right behind us will be a 480 car garage, partially sponsored by the Downtown Memphis Commission. And it's getting really close here. And a part of the Wonder Bread factory building was preserved at the very west end down here. We'll go down and look at that on the way down. But just look at this streetscape right here. As basically compared to that, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, see the difference coming in here, living there, residential there. Soon there'll be 1,000 people living in this area in the next year or so. That's going to spawn more walkability to downtown, bikeability to downtown. Orion Federal Credit Union has their offices in here, down here now. There's a real nice deck up here. See the ceiling fan up there? Again, bring your camera back in 5 years. He'll be doing the tour. Here's the other tourism agency. Now, Montgomery Martin, he's a good MUS boy. That's his first name is Montgomery Martin. I thought it was two people for a long time. But they're doing this here. You'll see Montgomery Martin on a lot of the downtown projects, doing construction, doing it right, wedging these things in the tight situations and buildings and all that. And then Leo events started about 15 years ago. Cindy Krill married Kevin Brewer. They started an events company, and they'll handle everything from when the president comes to town to go to meet with somebody somewhere. They handle all the security, get him from the airport, the motorcades, catering needs, all the entourage, media, hotel accommodations if it's the president or other dignitaries. They'll do things like they'll go to Arkansas to Springdale or whatever and do the annual Walmart meetings up there. Because I'm getting emails from her all the time. She's really bragging about all the work she did. I've known her since she worked at Hard Rock Cafe in 98, 99, Cindy. And Kevin was with the Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau then too. So they've done Leo events. Used to be down there on South Front where the Paramount Pictures sign was. That was Film Row during that time. We were distributing all the film out of Memphis during that time. They came in on the trains to all the theaters out in the communities, Jackson and Paragould and Jonesboro. So we've gone auto row, film row. You know, transportation, distribution, logistics has always been the #1 employer in Memphis for 2 centuries now. So Leo's based out of here. They moved over here this year as well to get away from South Front area into this growing area here, as that's their stamp on the place. It's going to be a cool place in a few years. And Leo's always right, by the way. If you know Leo's handling your event, you feel really good about that because they're really good on the details. If you ever see Cindy, you can tell her I said that too. Pat me on the back on that one. All right, here's the Orion Federal Credit Union, as I understand it. Hey, we're almost done on Monroe. Ooh. Get in here, let's go. Air conditioned, right? Air conditioned, right?
No, we're not air conditioned.
I'm Jimmy. How you doing, man? We're doing it. Yes, sir. How you doing? What's going on? We're doing an Edge walking tour. We're being filmed right now. But you know, one of the great things about Memphis heritage, and again, I've known June. June used to come watch me play basketball in high school. And the difference between me and June West is what I say. June goes out there and stands in front of the bulldozers. I sit on the sidewalks and talk about it. You know, I talk good, don't I? But June does a real good job getting in front of the bulldozers. And not every building can be saved. You know, and Judge Potter I think was really good on all the environmental court things they had to do. But back in 2011, and Lee Harris, who's our county mayor now, Pinch District lost the building, and that endangered the Pinch District of losing his designation. He was a state senator at the time. He came down and met with me in June, and we didn't lose that designation. Little old freshman senator, his first month in office up there. Now he's our county mayor, so I got to brag about him the other night. But in 2011, the top 5 most endangered old buildings in Memphis, us losing them, were Tennessee Brewery, Hotel Tisca, 19th Century Club, Claiborne Temple, and Sears Crosstown. Has anybody been in every single one of those? I know you have. And did we have a lot of bulldozers? No, other people got involved, you know, and got those things done. Those are all amazing projects. Now Claiborne Temple broke every rule in the book to be open during MLK 50 for all the right reasons. All the torture I used to get from code enforcement stuff in the buildings I ran just blew me away. Now they finally closed it down to get everything right in there for the future. So it's going to be a great meeting place. What these folks, you're volunteers here, aren't you, or not?
Yeah,
okay.
pretty much.
You got one down in South Haven too, right?
That's another guy's doing
okay,
that.
Okay. But what in June, preservation posse, going to some of these old buildings or houses that are going to be torn down and getting doors and fixtures and appointments, and these are things people can buy, right? They used to have an annual auction and party, but you kind of stopped doing that in favor.
We're doing this instead of it.
Yeah, and so you have a permanent place right here. Robert, right? He's going to tell us a couple of things about it. He's going to stand close to me because the microphone's right here.
Well, basically, this is to kind of raise money to put it back into promoting preservation. And
Memphis
all
heritage.
This stuff is either donated or stuff we've pulled out of buildings with the preservation posse or just scavenged off the street. And we're trying to sell it at reasonable prices. Most of the prices in here are pretty negotiable, you know, but we just love the old stuff. We got another warehouse full of doors and windows, and if we don't have it here, maybe we can find it for you there.
Ron, that looked really good in your dining room right there. That's just Toledo Scales. Got your name. It came from Underbread?
Actually, I think it came from that other building that was being torn down.
Go deep back in here. What are your hours of operation?
That's actually Will McGowan's woodworking shop.
Oh, Will McGowan's woodworking.
You're free to go back there, but it's not
and steal
really
anything we
us.
want? Okay.
But, that's right. That's right.
When are y'all open?
Saturdays.
It's open on Saturdays, what, 10 to 6 or 10 to 5? 10 to 5. Everybody's got one of these calendars maybe. This one is the Don Newman's, isn't it?
That's right.
What now? Emily Cohen, a young lady, just went and got a Humanities Tennessee grant through Memphis Heritage. They're the fiduciary agent, I guess you would call it, and got Gary Walpole to go around and recreate all the Don Newman, or a lot of the Don Newman pictures. The great Don Newman, you probably heard me say it, 1940s and 50s, had a 80-pound tripod, 25-pound camera, 8 by 10 inch negative, drape, coat and tie probably on a day like today, filming the Lincoln American Tower, the Exchange Building, all the, you see it in the arcade restaurant, these big, you see them all over here, right? And this one right here, boom, this is Beale Street. Let me tell you a story about this. So Gary Walpole is the modern photographer. If you go to the convention center on one wall, they have the then and now collection. Like, so we do a then and a now. Emily got a grant to where we could be filmed, me and Gary, talking about the buildings then and now, and I'll tell the history, and he'd tell how he recreated the shot. Because on some of the shots, Don Newman had to climb up on a building somewhere to get that angle. Like Union Station's no longer there, you can't, so you show what's there now or something. We try to get buildings that are still there, and that's what he did in this calendar that year. And this one right here, we could not ever figure out. We went down to Beale Street. This is A. Schwab's and Beale Street right here. And we tried and tried and tried. So we met with Elliot Schwab. And he said, well, there used to be a fire escape right there. It's no longer there. He usually stood on a fire escape to get because we were trying to get permission to get on the roof or go over to Silky's or go down to Alfred's. And so what Gary ended up doing, when you'll see this then and now come out this year, and it's going to the Shelby County Schools as a part of their social studies curriculum. We got them involved with it too. When this one little young lady with 2 little kids got a grant and had this vision. It's newmansmemphis.com is the Newman's website, but Emily has an interactive website right now. And so he finally got this tripod thing that he could telescopic up a camera about 20 feet in the air. So he could do it from his cell phone, wiggle this thing up in the air like this. You just had to have, and so I can get permission for us to bring your car right there on a night Beale Street's blocked off. and reenact that when the sun goes down, you know, and all that stuff. And so we tried to do some shots. Then on April the 15th this year, we did it. And I was moving on April 16th in Knoxville. And I parked down there on Rufus Thomas Boulevard. Since I ran the street, I know where I can get in and hide my car and all this stuff and get in and get out. To do this, and Al James said I could do it. And sure enough, I come back to my car and I got a parking ticket. Last night in Memphis, I got a stinking parking ticket. Now, I will pay every ticket I got. Probably saves me $500 a year to pay $100 of parking tickets. You see, I have a place to park just to get things done. I'll pay it. I'm not blocking a fire hydrant or a safety app, right, Ken?
Right.
Yeah, I'll run red lights. And you know what? That is an honor. I'm going to take a picture of this ticket. I'm going to send it on in. But Rufus Thomas, who was the first person to get a parking ticket on Rufus Thomas Boulevard? Rufus Thomas. Who was the first one to get it annulled? Rufus Thomas. He went down to city council and raised holy hell. We want Rufus Thomas parking on Rufus. Rufus loved walking up and down. So the cops finally figured out what his car was. He never got another ticket. And Rufus he only lived another year, but he never got a ticket after that, and he loved walking up. So it was an honor, my last day in Memphis, to get a ticket on Rufus Thomas Boulevard because of my friend Rufus Thomas. So it's been doing this program right. So when you see this picture reenacted, the now, it cost me $21. But these are great calendars. June puts out. Oh, and looky here! Oh my goodness! Oh no! Look at this book! Oh, da, 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 da. What does it say? Forward by Jimmy Ogle. I wrote a forward to a book. Now look at this. John Stevenson's 2010. You know John?
I do. He was in Sweden.
Oh no! John was at Memphis State. I was doing a program over there about the neighborhoods. I did an 8-part program over there, and so John came up to me that day and said, I was with Remember Liberty Land, because Save Liberty Land didn't work, so we called it Remember Liberty Land, you know. And Steve Morrow wanted to get out, so I said, okay, I'll take care of it. Wow, John Delaney and those guys. And so we had raised money. We had dealt with Green Bay, got them the rights for $31,000. We got some money to use the design, use the name in Green Bay. That's why we put the historical marker up over there. So John is a college student he's been on like 150 roller coasters around the country in his life. Loved them. He went, can I do a website called Remember Liberty Land? I said, sure, you know, as a college student. And so he emailed me this, okay? And then 8 years later, he asked me to write the foreword to his book. He's living in Nashville now. He's written a book about Liberty Land. And so I looked back at my emails, and I found his first email. My name is John Stevenson. I'm a sophomore journalism major at the University of Memphis. I own and operate the website Remember Liberty. So he'd asked for permission to that. So I said, well, they wanted me to write about my experiences. Y'all have ever ridden the Zip and Pippin, right? That clack, 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 that's the dog brake. So if the chain breaks, it won't fall backwards on you that way. You get up to that first drop, that 75-foot drop propels you through the entire half-mile ride by gravity. No electrical current, no cable, no nothing. A John Morgan designed roller coaster. The Babe Ruth roller coaster designers. The great Zip and Pippin wooden roller coaster. And of course, my thing is, for peer pressure, Double Dog Dare and the Rite of Passage all fall into the category of growing up. At the Fairgrounds Amusement Park in 1960. Well, when you didn't have to ride with your parents anymore, you're like 10 or 11 years old, what would you do with your guys? You go get back behind there in that first drop down, you take your hands off the bars, you know. The second time that you get a little bit, the Triple Dog Dare was standing up, you know. And then the really ugly Dog Dare was switching cars on the backstretch. Seats in the car, not cars, the seats in the cars. And that's all part of the Rite of Passage I wrote about. Then I included, then John Stevenson contacted me right now, so I was really honored to do. Only time I've written a foreword for a book. There it is right here. Thank y'all for having those out today. I appreciate it. We called in advance to make sure they were out there and I could talk about that. But this is in John, when I cleared a lot of things out of my house this last month, his daddy came and picked up all my Zip and Pippin files and wood I have and chains and dog brake and things like that from the Zip and Pippin that John's going to have in his collection in Nashville. So you just never know the people that are collecting or taking pictures, having files. Where was he a student for you at?
University of Memphis.
Okay, what class? Journalism or?
He was in the Emerging Leaders program, and I was his freshman teacher for that.
Well, thank you. And his daddy came and picked it up at my house when John Stevenson. It's okay, but he was proud of him, so it all worked out. So just stories that it's just hot in here, isn't it? And boy, y'all, I thought we were going to get air conditioning. Well, geez. We got to walk about another half block here, okay? It says Downtown Memphis Commission here, Robert. Look at this. I actually just picked up on this today when I walked the street in reverse, coming to see y'all. I've been taking, I get some pretty white tennis shoes here. No, I can crop those out. You ought to see how many toes are in my pictures of manhole covers, okay? That's cool. That feels great out here now, doesn't it? Let's go stand in that sauna again. Woodworking shop, ready? Watch yourself. John, longtime architect, right? Still are, planning this, that, and the other, but he was the one doing some woodworking there. Why? You like doing woodworking or what? What are you woodworking on?
Right now I'm just making some stuff for the kitchen.
Okay, and then Will, who owns it, Will McGowan has a place, he says, in Crosstown now too.
Well, there's a shop there that he's helping to manage for the folks there at Crosstown. They have a wood shop, a computer shop, so several others, and he's managing the wood shop.
John has lived downtown for a long time when the edge was really a hole, not even a hole of a donut, right? And seen a lot of changes over the last 40 years. Lives in what we call the Timpani building over there on Union Avenue, because our friend Jack Tucker, you've heard me talk about Jack Tucker, back when the Peabody was closed, Beale Street was fenced off, more people living in jail in downtown Memphis than living residentially at the time. Jack was designing, he'd been in the Tunisia and the Peace Corps in the 60s designing old buildings 400 years old. We could come into downtown Memphis, take a 100-year-old warehouse building and make condos or residential out of it. And that's that first one right there. He's the father of downtown living. Jack passed away about 2009, 2010. Yeah. And that's why you have that real nice streetscape there at Union in front with the ginkgo trees and with the in-ground planters. And you see that slope at 30 foot down and 300 feet. And every single residence there or building has handicap accessibility with that slope, with brick, with only one railing too. And in-plan and ginkgos.
Triumphs was getting them to put in a single rail instead of two.
Yeah, just Jack Tucker. His office was above the Front Street Deli too, little near office. Jack Tucker Alley's named for him back there because he preserved that alley, which is the hardest alley to walk in because of those old original cobblestones rather than Bowmanite or reef-set cobblestones and all that. But Jack was big about preservation. Charlie Verkus trusted him a lot to redesign some of his buildings.
Yeah, they bought that building from Charlie. You knew that?
Which one?
Timpani.
Timpani, okay. Well, Charlie had picked up a lot of buildings, just great.
Jack and Carol and
George, was it George?
No, Connie Hendricks and George Shook.
George Shook.
Went together to develop the building, bought the building from...
And I think Dale Ozier got in once upon a time, and of course Jimmy Maynard and Susie.
But those are the four originally.
Some real downtown denizens, creatures of another habit. I don't know what you want to call these folks. And
dinosaurs.
We're very lucky to have these warriors down there. I did about 20 years downtown, in several places, and that's where I found out about manhole covers and sidewalk stamps and working on riverboats and stuff like that. But you got people like this who have lived. I mean, they're not doing this as a fun job. They've got their real lives invested in downtown and their avocations and making improvements and things like that. And on their time off, they're making their own woodwork downtown. John Montgomery, thank you, John Montgomery. You'll be on video somewhere here soon. Hey, look, by the way, listen to this story right here. About 5 years ago, I was speaking at a Sunday school class at St. Luke's United Methodist Church about historic Memphis to modern Memphis, and a guy raises his hand and goes, "Let me tell you about this building down there on Danny Thomas Boulevard. It was built as a Holiday Inn. This was one of the first multi-story Holiday Inns right here. It was built in 1959, okay? Y'all still believe me to this point?" All right, so I said, okay, I'll go check that out. Well, now, that afternoon, I'm out at the Jewish Community Center. So I go from Methodist to Jewish that afternoon, doing the same program. Here comes another man up who worked for the construction company that built that first Holiday Inn that was a high-rise down on Danny Thomas Boulevard right here, 1959. So I get it from the Methodist side and the Jewish side. I said, what's the big deal about that? It was the first time in the history of the world that slip-form concrete methods was used for building a building. Slip-form concrete. It's a Jewish guy and a Methodist guy verified, and they built this building the same afternoon, so I believe them. I'm going to get hit by a lightning bolt if I don't, I think. Slip-form concrete is kind of where you put the wood up, pour the concrete, and pull the wood off. It's called slip-form concrete. You think about back to the 1880s, a guy by the name of Baron Collier just dropped out of Market Street School in the Pinch. took a job with the railroads, then he got a job putting the gas lights in Memphis. And then he opened up a little print shop, half interest in a print shop, and he saw the streetcars come in. He made 11-inch by 21-inch advertisements to go on streetcars, went to Chicago, got a contract with Wrigley Gum, and within 20 years, he had 20,000 streetcars, 40 million visitors a day in 70 cities and 35 states around the country. He was the father of streetcar advertising out of Memphis, Tennessee. He got so wealthy, he moved to New York. He built Luna Park next to Coney Island. He bought land in Florida. Collier County's named for him. He's one of the founders of the Boy Scouts of America, one of the founders of Interpol, a dropout from the pinch. And in my life, the greatest thing besides slip-form concrete, you saw the 1938 Sidewalk Stamp, the oldest in Memphis. He was the guy for our whole country who invented the yellow lines and the white lines on the highways. Somebody had to do that. Where else but Memphis would somebody do the yellow lines and the white lines on the highways? You know, it's like the upside down ketchup bottle. You know, it's like taking those train tracks and moving. I wish I'd have done something like that and been mailbox money for the rest of my life, you know, like writing a good song. But think about it. Somebody from Memphis had to do that. You know, Clarence Saunders changed the way we shop for groceries. Kemmons Wilson, the way we travel, overnight shipping, AutoZone. You think of all the, and then music and other cultural things. Ernie Lunati, the hydraulic automobile lift, the automatic fire door. There's all these weird things we've done in Memphis. And it comes out of areas like this. And now this area is coming back. We're not going to go all the way down to AutoZone. You'll see the sign delivery place is one of the bigger sign wrap people in the country. And then Arnold's Barbecue is down here. You have Mutt Island, and then more residential at Field Square. You know about AutoZone Park right there. Tad Pearson, American Dream Safari. When you go in this building right here, he actually has Airstream trailers in there. 2 or 3 of them in there. If you ever get a chance to go in there, because this is his bedroom, this is his other bedroom. He's got his dining room out there. He's got his shower. It's like, and he's the one that does the Cadillacs, the brown Cadillac going around. He's been about 20 years and does the automobile tires. He paints for seats and artwork. He's a very creative guy too, you know, and that's where he lives, right in there. I don't know what else to say because our time's going to run out here on the camera. You look at the city skyline, you can see the Steric building, tallest building in the entire South when it was built in 1930. Thank you, John.
Nice to see you.
All right, good to see you. It doesn't look any taller, but until the 100 North Main building was built. I-Bank built in 1973, First Tennessee, 1964. The Green Top building, Exchange building, 1910. Again, Danny Thomas wiggles around here. It really got designed in the late 60s, early 70s, and it took up part of Wellington and Charleston, of course, Lauderdale. Lauderdale's over here, then Lauderdale's down there from Wendy's down to St. Jude. If you look at the 1924 city plan, that was a big open drainage ditch from Wendy's to St. Jude. They put a box culvert in there and put a street on it, Lauderdale. And that's the Gayoso Bayou that starts up here, past the train station, goes north, all underneath us here. It goes under Gibson, under Silky's, you know, under the hotel there. It turns and goes under Handy Park, under Right Field, AutoZone Park, comes up and goes underneath Wendy's, through St. Jude, and opens up to the retention ponds. And when the city was first founded, it was a big swamp. That's why the city limits stopped there, because you couldn't get over the swamp. And you see how this slopes down into there. Downtown drains to the east down into here, and that all drains out to the north. The next bayou over is Quimby Bayou that drains in the Gayoso Bayou. Then you got Idlewild Bayou, Madison Heights raised underneath Sears Crosstown from Poplar that way. And then Lick Creek through Overton Bayou, which is Lick Creek through Overton Park and Overton Square, goes that way. So next time you go down Poplar, it goes up and down like this. You think it just goes like this. So it's an old animal trail on a high ridge, because animals didn't want to get the paws paws wet, that the Native Americans followed, that the European settlers or explorers followed, that the American settlers followed, you see? And that's how our Poplar goes like this. It's an old animal trail.